My name is Eric Fingerhut, the President and CEO of Hillel International. Hillel is the largest Jewish student movement in the world. We're on 550 campuses on 5 continents, and our mission is to help Jewish students build their Jewish identity, strengthen their connection to the Jewish people, and help develop a sense of, as they go out into the world, of how Judaism can be a part of their life, just as they're planning their careers and their professions and where they're going to live and who they're going to partner with personally and professionally. How is Jewish identity and connection to the Jewish people and the connection to Israel, how is that part of the life that you're building for yourselves? That's Hillel's mission. We've been doing it for 90 years, starting right here in the great state of Illinois, and now serving well over 1 million students worldwide at any given time. I would say that initially it was a place of refuge on campus, right? So this was an era when there were just starting to be large numbers of Jewish students coming to campuses like Northwestern and some of our major public universities, and being a very small number in a very large environment and away from home, the need to have a place where they could come and hang out and eat and socialize with members of the Jewish community was very important. And so for many years, that was our role, was to be the Jewish home on campus for Jewish students who are away from home. Obviously, we now live in a time when you don't need to have a special place for Jewish students to feel comfortable and welcome in the broader university community. Not just because the percentage of Jews going to college has grown, as it certainly has, like here at Northwestern, but also because American society is extraordinarily open and welcoming, and campuses are extraordinarily open and welcoming places to Jews. So I think a fundamental shift has gone on from just needing to have a place where you can feel welcome to having to have a place that is reaching out to all Jewish students, wherever they come from, whatever their background. We have an increasingly diverse Jewish people, and helping them find their own connections to Jewish people, to Jewish identity, to Israel, and to figure out how to build their faith into their vision of themselves for their lives. And that's it's a diverse, people come from all different backgrounds, they have different interests. And so we have to have a wide range of ways for people to connect. But clearly, those of us in Hillel believe that continuing the Jewish people is an important value, not just because we believe in the values of Judaism, but we believe that Jewish people have been and remain a constructive force in building a better world. And so we care about the Jewish students on campus being part of the Jewish people, but we also care about the Jewish population on campus being part of the campus life in a very constructive way. And so Hillel plays that role, both connecting Jewish students to their Jewish identity and making sure that the Jewish community on the campus is a constructive part of the campus life. Well, that's a very powerful connection that you're making. I don't know when this is going to be shown, so if we're dating ourselves by saying that this is the week of Hanukkah and Thanksgiving, and we're all we're all joking about Thanksgivika and Menarches and all the things, and I guess somebody told me it's not going to happen again for 79,000 years or something crazy, so we should enjoy it. But what I really love about this juxtaposition of Thanksgiving and Hanukkah is that we get to celebrate simultaneously a great Jewish festival, festival of Jewish freedom, of overcoming oppression, of bringing light into darkness, and reaffirm a Jewish identity. A time of year in American society when Jewish identity can coexist alongside the wonderful celebrations of our Christian brothers and sisters, and we're about to celebrate the Christmas season. All of that powerful religious and spiritual symmetry. But at the same time, we get to celebrate Thanksgiving, the quintessential American holiday, and express our gratitude to this country, this remarkable country that has produced and enabled the freest, most open, most pluralistic society in the history of the world. There's nothing that comes close to what the United States of America has done for all people of all faiths and religious and religious followings and ethnic backgrounds. It's truly, sometimes because we're in the middle of it, we probably don't appreciate as we should the extraordinary privilege it is to live in this country as a member of a minority, a minority group like the Jewish people, and so the lifting of the just like Hanukkah and Thanksgiving coincide, the coincidence of the 50th anniversary of lifting of the Jewish quotas, and the 80th anniversary of Hillel, I think speaks to the extraordinary accomplishments of this country, in which these great universities have moved ever towards inclusiveness, ever towards openness, ever towards building a pluralistic people. So it's something to be very, very proud of on this Thanksgivika. One of the things that I would like to add, Hillel is such a brand name on campus that often people only know the name Hillel as the name of the Jewish student organization on campus. But of course, we're named after the great sage Hillel, Hillel the Elder, who's probably the most quoted sage of our tradition from the Talmud and all the other writings. And there's a reason why Hillel is the most quoted sage from our tradition, because he really stood for a certain set of principles. He was a rigorously traditional Jewish leader, but he also stood for inclusiveness and welcomingness. He stood for bridging differences among people in a constructive and positive way. You may know that in the Talmud, like any other great piece of literature, non-fiction piece of literature, it's often the style in literary work is to set up a juxtaposition, right? So there's a contrast between competing points of view. And so, of course, in Hillel, in the Talmud, we have Hillel and Shammai, who are the protagonists in so many of the legal debates that go on in the Talmud, which is essentially a record of the legal debates of the rabbis arguing over different points of Jewish law. And Hillel and Shammai are often paired together, and they come to represent two competing points of view to what the Jews should be like in society. Shammai more closed, more rigid, more exclusive in saying, well, you're in or you're out, and Hillel representing a welcoming and loving and open point of view, while maintaining tradition, maintaining the commitment to our core Jewish values of Torah and of mitzvot and of study and learning, but doing so in a way that is inclusive and welcoming. That's why we take our name from Hillel, because and not from Shammai, because on campuses all over the world, in an era of a very diverse Jewish student population, we want to be welcoming and we want to be accessible to all, and it's also why Hillel has flourished in the American university, like here at Northwestern. because of this increasing movement towards welcomeness and openness. These are unbelievably diverse institutions. I mean, look at the students you greet as you walk down the quad, or you walk across the street. Or when you sit within class, from all over the world, from every possible background. That's the richness of university life. That's the richness of our nation. And within the Jewish people, that's what Hillel represents too. That broad sense of we belong to a global people, and we each bring to that our perspectives and our backgrounds and our creativity. But because we want to continue to be a force for good in the world, a light into the nations, and that's why we work so hard at Hillel to help preserve the next generation of the Jewish people. I do have a favorite quote. Hillel, it's not as resonant or probably as well known as some of the others, but Hillel taught that we not separate ourselves from the community. I think that if he were alive today, he would apply, in understanding that his name was being used on American universities, that he would particularly understand that we have to work hard to build community, a Jewish community, but then be part of the broader community. That we have to be strong together and then be part of the broader community, so we don't separate ourselves from the community. I actually have also a favorite Hillel story. It's not a single quote, but one of the debates about between Hillel and Shammai in the Talmud, the followers are arguing about some point of law. It's not as important what the point of law is, and they finally just reach a stalemate. And so the story goes that the students, the disciples, turned to the heavens and said, "Who's right? Tell us who's right." And the answer came down from the heavens that both interpretations of law are right. So you think, well, both interpretations of law are right, then either one could be followed equally, right? You take your pick. And then the story further goes, no, even though both interpretations are correct, the ruling will be according to the students of Hillel. Now, why, even if both interpretations are right, is the ruling according to the students of Hillel? Why do we follow the teachings of Hillel in that particular case? And the answer that's given is because his students listened to the other side. They even cited the opinions of the other side before they cited their own. They built into their own understanding, the understanding of the other side. They were working to bridge the differences. They were working to build people together. They were listening carefully. We live in a time in society when it's easy to get fragmented off in your own perspective, and it's easy to not really listen to the other side with an open mind. Universities are models of places where we're encouraged to listen to other points of view with an open mind. But occasionally, even on university campuses, we see examples of intolerance where we don't listen with an open and careful mind, and then still reach our own opinion about what we need to do. So Hillel represents for us that sense of openness that is reflected in universities. We know that we can be a strong part of the community. We can have strong Jewish identities, be a strong Jewish people, and be part of the broader community. That's what Hillel represents to us. I loved it here. It was, I think the Jewish community here has certainly grown since I was here more than a few years ago. But even then, it was a welcoming place. I did go to Hillel quite often, helped to lead some of the religious services at Hillel. Professor Irwin Weil, if he's watching this, was leading the High Holiday services when I was a student. Here, and one of the first things I asked Michael Simon when I became the new international president of Hillel was whether Professor Weil was still helping lead, and he said yes, so I love the continuity of that. But I would also say that one of the things that was wonderful about Northwestern at the time, and I'm sure it's true today too, was the warmth of the broader Jewish community in the North Shore and in Chicago overall. We were welcomed. We were invited to people's homes. We really felt like we were part of a dynamic and broader Jewish community. I know that the Federation System, JUF, Chicago, the Jewish United Fund of Chicago, is an extraordinary supporter of Hillel's overall in Illinois, and particularly, and also here at Northwestern. So that you're really part of a broader Jewish community that cares deeply about Jewish life on this campus. So I love being part of. I love Chicago. I love Northwestern. I love Evanston. I look back on this time incredibly fondly. It's such a privilege to be back here. And actually, I have a sister who lives in Wilmette, and so for most of the last 20 years, when I've come to visit her, I've been able to walk around campus and just see the growth and the energy. You can feel the power of Northwestern. I travel the world now on behalf of Hillel. As I mentioned, we're on 5 continents, and you see the power of Northwestern everywhere you go. So it's a phenomenal place. You're all lucky to be here. It's great to see this beautiful facility that wasn't here when I was a student, and to see the real growth of the professional and student leadership at Northwestern Hillel. And chazak chazak, then you chazek, go from strength to strength. 80 years is a remarkable accomplishment, and one that we take very strongly. In the Torah, it teaches us that Sarah was 90 years old when Isaac was born, and Abraham was 100. So if you think about it, 80 years old is still young. There's all sorts of things left to do. We haven't even begun the next generation of the story of the Northwestern Hillel story. So 80 years young is a great place to be. I'll give you 2. One was 9 o'clock break at the library. You still do that?
No.
No 9 o'clock break at the library. What's the world coming to? So when we were resetting the main library, everybody was there at night in their stacks, pouring away over books. And when it got to be 9 o'clock, everyone would converge. So they still have that area where the vending machines are. It's kind of, I forget what floor it's on. But there was just kind of a strip of vending machines, and everybody, hundreds of people would come down to the vending machine area, and it would get loud and crazy, and everybody was talking at the top of their lungs. The librarians hated it, but they put up with it. And then about 9:15, we'd all go back to the stacks and start studying. So 9 o'clock break. Tell them, if you don't have it, you start 9 o'clock break. The other thing I remember really fondly is, so I see you have your WNUR sweatshirt. So you still do 60s flashback weekend?
No.
No 60s. No 60s flashback weekend. What's this college coming to? What's this university coming to? So Memorial Day weekend, by which time most of your other friends are already home from college and they've already started their summer jobs or on their summer trips, whatever they're doing. Remember, you've had a long, cold winter at Northwestern, probably a long, cold spring, because it's not going to warm up around here for a long time. So Memorial Day often, it's a 3-day weekend. Most people don't go home because we're close to finals, and there's not, really time to go home. And it could be the first really beautiful weekend, of the spring. So people are outdoors. They're wearing shorts. Brought out their shorts, their T-shirts, their flip-flops. And WNUR would play 60s music all weekend. It was a 60s flashback weekend. And so what everybody would do is take the speakers of their stereos and turn them out the dorm windows into the quad. So and blasted at full volumes wherever you went on campus. You would see people out playing ball, frisbee, sunbathing, whatever it is, and listening and singing along to 60s flashback weekend. So I still, every Memorial Day weekend now, I like to blast the 60s music at home and think about my friends at Northwestern. Go Cats!